People old enough to remember the September 11th attacks. What was the day like? I was at work. People were all standing around a big TV in a meeting room. I wasn't sure what it was at first. I remember the same thing, but I was in school when the space shuttle blew up in the 80s. I think I just noticed as the second tower had been hit. People kept watching, and then we all watched the towers collapse. We started to wonder if this was going to happen all over the country. People went back to their offices but kept watching most of the day. Watching the Twin Towers burn and disintegrate. Seeing people jump out of the windows. Seeing the second plane hit. Seeing the Pentagon and the other plane crash. The eerie silence of the no-fly order and the wait to see if the next plane would land or crash. Seeing the dust coated on everything. Seeing all those missing persons posters everywhere. I was in my US government class. Junior year of high school. Another teacher ran in and whispered something into my teacher's ear. He mumbled under his breath and turned the TV on. About 5 minutes later the second plane hit. It was a weird day in school. We didn't do anything but watch it in every class that day. I've been out of school almost 20 yesterday and could tell you the classroom and where my desk that day. It felt like the first week of lockdown and everyone was gossiping what happened and what really happened. The big change for me was armed guards at airports. Were there in the first week already conspiracy theories? I was woken up by screams in my head. Knew nothing about why or what happened until I got to college classes about an hour later. Everyone was just in shock. 38 years old now. It was a clear, sunny morning as I walked to the bus stop. I was in high school. The year had just started a couple weeks prior. The day was normal until my teacher wheeled in ATV on a cart and we watched history unfold in second hour U.S. history. I tell people when they ask where I was that if I walked into that room today I could tell you the exact place my desk was on that day. Was on my way to school. I remember all the adults being pretty beside themselves but all the kids being unable to comprehend what just happened. Was in middle school at the time. We pretty much had the day off because of it. A bit confusing to me. I was in grade school and we all got pulled aside and told about it. A couple kids immediately started crying. I was just like okay and went about my day. When I got home my mom was glued in front of the TV crying. I didn't understand for a long time what was going on. Everyone was just glued to the TV. You can see TV footage posted on YouTube. I get glued to that too sometimes. When the first tower was hit, everyone thought it was a horrible accident. All the cameras were on the struck tower. Then on live TV. The second one gets hit at full speed. That's when everyone was like, oh speep. That was no accident. We're under attack. At least that's how I remember it. I was getting ready for school and remember my mom just freaking out in the morning watching the morning news. And then I was watching the news with her. I was like 8. I was in grade 8 and asleep. Was late over here in AUS and I heard my dad yelling OMFG over and over again in the lounge room. So I got up and went to see if he was okay. On TV was like the morning show or something and in the background they had the live view of outside. I saw the first tower smoking and then saw the second plane go into the next. I just stood there in shock watching it all unfold and seeing the presenters just turning to watch. I'll never forget it. Went to school the next day spooked. I was in 5th grade. We knew something was up at school. But none of the teachers would tell us what. All I knew was we weren't allowed to go outside for recess. When I got home and my parents told me what had happened, I didn't really get it. I understood that some planes had flown into some buildings, but had no inkling of what that meant for the country. Years later my dad told me he thought about sitting my sister and I down and saying here's why this is so scary, but decided to let us be kids for a little longer instead. I was in college. I had been out drinking the night before. My roommate woke me up after the first tower was hit. I had a massive hangover. I got up and watched a bit of the news coverage, but went back to sleep because I was so hungover. I was working early morning delivery at CVS. Just me and the boss. I was putting stock onto conveyor belt to bring downstairs while she unloaded. All of a sudden she just yells, "Get down here." We watched the second plane hit on the news on the TV in the break room. I was very young. Mom picked me up from school in tears and I remember listening to the broadcast on the radio. Mom wouldn't let me watch when I got home. Told me some bad men flew planes into some buildings and that people were hurt. I thank her for it actually. Don't think I would have been able to handle seeing people jump at that age. I'll give my perspective as a non-American who was 6 years old at the time. I had just gotten home from school. My mom was also home. My mom turned on the TV and she was visibly upset. I understood something bad had happened, but I didn't fully understand it. I honestly thought it was a regular plane crash, and didn't understand why everybody was that upset over something that happened far away. I obviously didn't understand the severity of the situation. Surreal. I was at work. A co-worker told me someone flew a plane into the World Trade Center. I imagined it was a small non-commercial plane and made some snarky comment. It wasn't until the second plane hit that I realized something big was happening. My boss turned on his radio to the news broadcast but insisted we keep focusing on work. I suspect, in retrospect, he was leaning on his past military training. When the speep hits the fan, the job still's got to get done. We were the IT shop for a DoD signals and intelligence contractor. It was very somber and everyone was kind of in a daze. I didn't see any of the imagery until I got home from work that evening.